Welcome to East Alabama Today, featuring topics, events, and interesting people from all over East Alabama. Hosted by Carl Brady. Now, let's get right to the show. Here's Carl Brady.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into East Alabama Today. I'm Carl Brady. Thanks so much for being with us on today's program. As always, I'd like to get things started off with a little contact information. Let you know how to get in touch with me if you have an idea for the program. We want to hear from you at my email address, cbrady@tv24.tv. That's the best way to let me know what's going on in your community, in your neck of the woods. Just shoot me an email, cbrady@tv24.tv. Of course, we want to know about the things that are going on in your community, fairs, festivals, special events, things that are happening with your community organization, with your church, in your neighborhood. You guys are our eyes and ears out on the street, and that's how we find out what's going on. So send me those emails, cbrady@tv24.tv. Now, I'm also looking for interesting people to be on the program, folks who are writers, artists, or musicians. Even if someone who has an odd or an interesting hobby and you think they'd be a great guest for the show, those are exactly the people we're looking for. So shoot me an email about them as well. cbrady@tv24.tv. Stay with us. Got a nice show coming up with another local author. As we mentioned, authors, musicians, people with odd or interesting hobbies. Another local author who has written a book is going to be with us, and we'll get that started in just a moment. Stay with us as we continue with East Alabama Today. And we welcome you back into East Alabama Today. Again, I'm Carl Brady. Thanks so much for being with us on today's program. As I mentioned in the opening segment, we're going to be talking to a local author. His name is Warren Freeman, and this is his book, An Evil Wind, and we'll tell you more about that as we go through the show. So right now, let me welcome Warren Freeman to the program. Warren, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Great to have you with us here on East Alabama Today, and you're no stranger to East Alabama. You're from Cleburne County.
I am.
Right?
Yeah, I am. Just a few miles below Mount Cheehaw.
Yeah. And you are a successful attorney there, and we'll talk about that. You also have some musical roots as well.
Well, I do. Gospel music is a heritage part of my life that. My granddaddy used to teach singing schools back during the Depression, and my family, the Freeman family, sang gospel music all through the, of course, 50s, 60s, and I still sing with a trio. With part of that, my uncle was a part of the original Freeman family, and I sing with he and my cousin in a trio, Southern gospel.
Yeah. So that's nice, and so that's something you've been involved with for a long time.
It's sort of a lifetime thing.
A lifetime thing. Yeah. Well, talk about the legal career. You're a successful attorney, and I guess criminal law is your specialty. You've had I noticed in the notes about the show today. Several murder cases that you have defended and successssly defended in a lot of cases.
I have. I've had 9 murder cases, and when I went to law school, it's like one of the judges told me. Said you go to law, you go to college, you go to law school. You get past the bar exam, and then you try to learn how to practice law and figure out what you're going to be able to make a living doing. I always wanted to be a criminal defense attorney. I think it's from years of growing up watching Perry Mason. One of my daughters used to call it gray TV. She said, "Daddy used to make us sit and watch gray TV, the black and white."
The black and white.
Yeah, the black and white. That's right.
Yeah.
But it's something that I have a passion for. I'm a trial lawyer. I do auto accident cases and those kind of things too, but my passion is with criminal defense. Has always been that way. I've successfully had 9 murder trials and have some more that I'm still working on. So it's like I think you talked about not having to go to work. You get to do your hobby for a living or your passion for a living.
Absolutely.
That's where I am as well.
Have you had? You mentioned Perry Mason. Have you had a Perry Mason type moment in the courtroom, that aha, gotcha kind of moment, or does those things only happen on TV?
Well, I actually had one years ago. It wasn't in a criminal case. It was in a custody matter or something to do with domestic relations, where the child was put on the stand by the other side, and he was supposed to say what Mama wanted him to say.
Yeah.
And instead, I got up close to him and I said, "Your mama told you to say that, didn't she?" He bursted, bless his heart. It was one of those kinds you're not glad to be in, but it happened.
Right.
He burst into tears and admitted that she told him what to say, and that whatever the accusation was really didn't happen to my client. But you have that, but that's very seldom. Most of the time, people stick to their stories, and there's a reason why you're going to trial. There's a firm accusation and a firm defense.
Mm-hmm.
So,
where does that passion come from you? You said you always knew you wanted to be a criminal defense attorney. Where does that passion come from?
Well, I don't know. I just always have rooted for the underdog. Mm-hmm. And if anybody's an underdog in our society, it's going to be the person that's charged with a crime. Because you have to realize the state of Alabama has investigators, they have staff that's paid, they have everything basically in their corner. I know my district attorney friends would argue with me that they have any kind of advantage here, because they say they have the uphill battle to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. But when the state of Alabama charges you with a crime, you are an underdog big time.
Yeah.
And you had better find some way to try to even the scales, the scales of justice, if you will. You better find some way. And even outside the courthouse as well, we hear accusations and charges, and we are, as a society, are so quick to condemn and immediately believe whatever we've been told by the media, which is me. But people are so quick to just go ahead and condemn that person and not wait for the innocent till proven guilty thing to stand up. Well, the thing is, I think people look at a story and automatically want to have a conclusion. They want to reach that conclusion. Mm-hmm. In our microwave society, where we push a button and instantly have something cooked, or instantly turn on a television, we instantly want to proceed from here's the story and are they guilty or innocent. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole lot more many times. Yeah. And sometimes there's not. Now, sometimes somebody's charged with a crime, rightfully so, and rightfully should be convicted. Yeah. And that's part of the justice process. It isn't that we as criminal defense attorneys are always, quote unquote, trying to get people off. Mm-hmm. Many times my job is to negotiate something less than what they're going to face otherwise. Mm-hmm. That's my job a lot of times. Right.
So how does all this translate into a sideline career of writing a novel? And we'll start there. How does this translate into becoming a novelist as well?
Well, writing for me has been a hobby for a long time. I think it's a natural transition, really, when you think about a trial lawyer. I just talked a little bit about sometimes there's a lot of a story to tell for a client. Mm-hmm. And that's my job as a trial lawyer, whether it's an auto accident case or a murder trial. I am trying simply to show the other side of the story to the 12 people who are sitting on a jury, so that they will understand what my client's motivations were, what the facts were as they relate to my client. Now, in doing that storytelling, writing, however, is another, just a facet of that, where you're taking characters. In my case, I'm writing fiction. I love to write fiction. I love to create characters, and I love to dig deep into that character, just as I dig deep into my client's character, their story, and present that in a way that's enjoyable to a reader read and to get into the character with me.
Yeah. And with this book, An Evil Wind, tell me a little bit about it. What you know, we don't want to give everything away, you know, because we want people to get the book, but tell us a little bit about the story, An Evil Wind.
Well, An Evil Wind is the story of 18-year-old Marco Escavaz. He's a worker in northern Mexico. He and his father work at a place called the Factory. And at the factory, they produce corn, cotton, and marijuana for shipment across the border. And he's never done anything but drive a forklift, load trucks, just laboring tasks on a loading dock. One day he's picked out and says, "You're going to take this truck up to San Antonio, Texas." His father's upset. "No, I don't want my son to go. Don't worry, everything will be fine. He's just going to go to San Antonio, drop the truck off, and come back." He leaves, he goes to San Antonio, he does not come back. Instead, the man he delivers to in San Antonio forces him to go on the continued drug run through toward the eastern part of the United States. Mm-hmm. And young Marco finds himself in a Cleburne County, Alabama jail, charged with the capital murder of an Alabama state trooper.
Wow. So so you're bringing it home locally to. I always find that interesting to read books that have some kind of local connection, even if I'm not familiar with the author, and occasionally we'll run into something that'll mention a town close by, and so that's always interesting. Are your friends, family, acquaintances in Cleburne County, do they need to worry that they're going to see themselves in the book or read about themselves? I know that's probably one of the first questions people who know you ask. Am I in the book?
Well, no, you know, I always remind people, and I tell on the last interview I did, I told them, I said, well, it's fiction. Mm-hmm. You know, Margaret Mitchell was asked for years who's the real Rhett Butler, mm-hmm. and she always said, oh, it's just something I made up.
Yeah.
And obviously, all of us have our life experiences. You talked about writing about local things. Mm-hmm. You know, Faulkner wrote about Mississippi, and mm-hmm. Robert Penn Warren wrote about Louisiana. Mm-hmm. That's because that's where they're from. I'm from Alabama, and I love getting to write about. And you write about places you know. You write about what you know. Yeah. At the end of the day, and I guess that's so. There's a little bit of reality that translates into the fiction, I'm sure. Absolutely.
We need to take a commercial break, so let's do that right now, and we'll be back to continue our talk with Warren Freeman about his book, An Evil Wind, and we'll tell you how to get your own copy of the book and those kind of things as well. So hang out with us as we continue with East Alabama Today. And we welcome you back into East Alabama Today. Again, I'm Carl Brady. Warren Freeman is my guest. Warren is a Cleburne County attorney and now a Cleburne County author as well. The book is a fiction novel, An Evil Wind is the title of the book, and you've seen the graphic there. You can see WarrenFreemanAuthor.com is Warren's website. You can get this through Kindle, through Amazon, the online booksellers as well. And Warren, we were talking a little bit when we went to the break about characters and maybe some character development. This book features a lot of different characters, from foreign characters, local characters, preachers, legal people. How do you develop the diversity of those characters without them starting to kind of just be one-dimensional? How do you get so many characters so fully fleshed out?
Well, that's the trick I found in writing, and it's a part of the craft that I love to get into. There's one character in this book. His name is Joe Frank. He's a preacher that when Marco is arrested and placed in the Cleburne County Jail, he meets this preacher, and the preacher becomes a mentor to him. And I don't want to give too much more about the book, but just to say this, the character of Joe Frank, when I first started writing the book, I didn't intend on Joe Frank being any more than somebody you meet, he's passing through, it's just somebody sort of like a potted plant that you walk by. Instead, as I got into Joe Frank's character and began describing him and began pulling out who he is and what motivates him, he just jumped out of the book. And when I say that, it
kind of took on a life of his own.
It did, and that was the fun of it.
Yeah.
To realize I'm going here, and wait a minute, I can't leave him. I've got to go back, and he's too interesting. I've got to go back and dig some more. So he ends up being a dominant player in this story of In an Evil Wind.
Did you have the complete story in mind when you started? Did you know where you were going to start and where you hoped to end up, or like with this character, kind of changes along the way, I'm sure. But did you have an idea from the start of where you wanted to go, or did you just kind of let it take you as it went?
Well, I did. Let me answer the question first. Yes, I did know where I wanted to go, but yes, I did change that as we got into the story. And realized that because initially the book was going to be another John Grisham type legal thriller, and it isn't that. When you read it, you'll realize that it is adult fiction. It does have some legal components in it. It's got a trial that starts. It's got scenes at the old Cleburne County jail that only us lawyers who have been going over there for a long time would recognize. It has the Cleburne County Courthouse in it, and it has the trial that starts. But beyond that, it isn't a legal thriller per se, but it's just a story really between two people, a young Mexican kid and a black preacher who are from different worlds, and they bring their own little biases and prejudices into the story and leave there realizing that both of them are just two people in one small world.
How do you treat those biases and prejudices with respect and really get to the heart of them as a writer? Obviously you're not a black preacher, you're not a young Mexican guy. How do you research and develop these characters to get to the heart of their heart to make it believable?
Well, you start out, I think, with the concept that everybody has biases, whether they want to admit it or not. Years of picking a jury, you realize when you're asking questions in what's called voir dire, which is the questioning of the potential jurors prior to the trial. When you're questioning those, the realization is that every one of those 50 or 60 people have prejudices. And you realize that, you understand that, and you try to ask them questions to get them to talk about themselves. Because if you talk about yourself enough and answer questions, you will reveal yourself. You'll reveal yourself. And the thing with Marco in this book, Marco comes in with a preconceived idea. He's never met a black man before. And he's already got this preconceived notion of what a black man is, and then finds out that his concept of that was totally misplaced.
I guess this is not really a subtitle, but I don't know what you would call it. You call it a subtitle?
I guess so. Yeah.
A description there, An Evil Wind, a novel of redemption. It seems to indicate maybe there's a message in here as well. Did you are you trying to convey a message? Is there a deeper message within just the enjoyment of reading a fictional book?
Well, first of all, the message is there. The redemptive message is there. But I didn't intend it that way. I didn't start out trying to write something that would be evangelizing anything. But Joe Frank, when I said he was in jail, he wasn't there ministering to people in jail. He was actually in jail. The preacher himself was in jail. And so there's something a little bit amiss about his life if a preacher is incarcerated.
Right.
so he needs to do a little bit of climbing back up to the place where he used to be, and he takes Marco under his wing, and when you read the book, you'll realize all the different things he does to do that, to help him. But he takes him under his wing. He, in the process of helping Marco, realizes that he is himself worthy of being on this earth and doing something good, and that yes, I can still do something good in spite of the fact that I did some sinning, as a little sinning as he calls it, that I can still be useful to God, and he realizes that, and that's why it's called a novel of redemption. At the end, he does feel redeemed to an extent all over again.
All over again. Talk about your writing process. Every writer has a different way of getting into that zone of writing. You live a very busy life. I've got a friend who rents a cabin in the mountains for a couple of weeks and just totally isolates himself with him and his thoughts to put his books together. What's your writing process? How did you, and how much time did it take you to get this into format?
Well, first of all, my wife and I have a place that I go to where the cell phones don't work. I don't have a TV there. I don't have a radio there, and it's in the woods, and it's the perfect place to go write. And that's number one, what I do when I go write. Because if I stay home, my office is next door to my home out in Cleburne County. So if I'm home, I'm usually working, and I can be a workaholic if I let myself. So,
I totally understand that.
So I enjoyed what I do too. So that helps with that. But I've got a place I go to, and I dedicate myself just to writing when I'm there. If I get down there and I can't write, I come back home, go to work. So, but that usually isn't the case. But the process is to get there. I already have in mind what I'm going to work on, and I do start out with an outline. As I said, I know sort of where I want this story to go. For instance, I've got a sequel that I've written to this book that will be released in about a year. And right now, when I go write, I go down there and work on the sequel and get it fine-tuned. As far as the length of time, I started writing. My wife says it was '06 when I started writing this novel. I don't know. I've rewritten it probably 10 times.
Oh, wow.
Because of being unsatisfied with where something went, or going back and changing it. My later novels won't have that many revisions, but the first one, I think I was so careful with it. I finally quit. I decided.
You have to get to a point. Same thing with producing TV shows, producing commercials, and producing video productions and things like that. I can always go back and find something I wish I had done differently. So at some point, you finally just have to say, okay, I can't keep revising this over and over and over.
I look at things now and say, well, I wish I'd said that differently, you know. But I think I would say that. I could keep writing and rewriting forever. But I started back then, but you have to understand I have a day job. So I can't just go, if I could just simply go and write, obviously I can turn out something a lot faster. But I have windows of opportunity, I call it, where I get a free week or a free couple of days and I go write. Then I may not get to go back to it for 3 weeks. Because a judge is demanding my presence in one of the counties.
But we need to take another commercial break, so we'll do that. Come back, we'll tell you again how you can get your very own copy of the book. So hang out with us just a few more minutes here on East Alabama Today. Well, one final segment with Warren Freeman. We've been talking about his book, An Evil Wind, a novel of redemption that is available at Amazon.com, Kindle.com is going to be available on Barnes & Noble over the next couple of weeks. Books A Million as well. You can go online. Check out Warren's website, warrenfreemanauthor.com, and learn more about Warren and in his writing there. And man, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I've enjoyed it.
My pleasure.
And look forward to digging into this a little bit myself here.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy it.
On that. And folks, we thank you for joining us as well here on East Alabama Today. Remember the email address, cbrady@tv24.tv. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again next time.